In 1962, a 21-year-old Christopher Grace made the bold decision to purchase the top lot at the Trentham Sales. That mare was Hakawai. I'm here at Rathmoy in the paddock she spent most of her life, and that's where our story begins.
My mother owned a maternity hospital, but I was born in the house. However, that house burnt down, and then Mum and Dad built the bottom half, and then Susanna put the top half on. I've never worked for anybody else other than myself and my father.
And me.
Yeah.
Yeah, full time for you. I've been there apart from going away, chased out by fire. I've been in the same spot all my life.
And what about yourself, Susanna?
I'm a Waipak girl, so yes, farming in Waipakara.
As a 16-year-old, I convinced my father that perhaps, I was about the right age, because I thought I was everything at that stage. And we went to up to the Alton Lodge dispersal sale and bought a mare called Tenderfoot. She had a weanling filly and a yearling filly, which I had to sell when I wanted to buy Hakawai. Dad said, you can only allow one horse on top of this hill, because I think he'd understood that you can't have too many horses, or nearly as many as what I've got now. So he'd be turning over in his grave if he knew what we were up to. Yeah. So,
what was the sale like, purchasing the top lot of the sale at 21 years old?
It took a lot of winding up to do that, to mentally prepare myself, but more my father, I think. They were coming down to the last bids and one thing and another, and an American guy from San Francisco was just near me, and he looked around and he said, boy, if you want that horse, you better have him. And that's how I got him. It was quite a big day.
Big day. It was an emotional day for you as well?
Oh, yes, yeah.
And that's sort of where it all
started, yeah. And so then I set out and because I'd sold the yearlings and weanlings, we only had one loose box, and I boxed Hakawai probably nearly all the time. Yeah, we grew her into a very nice 2-year-old, but if I went to the pub, come home with a few drinks, I'd end up sleeping with the horse.
Really? Yeah. She meant that much to you?
Yeah.
And Susanna, where do you fit into this picture? Were you there when he purchased the horse, or where do you fit in?
I was still at school.
Okay.
I met Christopher when I was 18, and my father knew Christopher's family very well and said, young girl, you're on the first boat to England.
Oh, no.
So I sailed away to England for 18 months. And
with a little picture,
with a little picture.
Yeah, of Christopher.
And his horse.
Hakawai, yeah. Yeah.
And we got married 6 weeks after we got home, didn't we?
And
Yes.
a horse has been a big part of your upbringing as well?
Yes, I was born on a horse, really.
Yes.
Ponies and lots of hunting and pony come champs in those days, yes. And when Christopher and I first got married, we owned trained horses too, so that was lots of fun.
When Hakawai died, the insurance was worth a lot of money, and we got £10,000. That was the deposit on my first farm.
Really, yeah.
So it was 12 years later before we went to Colin Hayes in South Australia, and to buy a daughter of Clearaway, who was a 3/4 sister to Hakawai.
And that's the probably sad thing, isn't it? Whilst you raced Hakawai, you didn't actually get to breed from her.
No, we had decided that she'd won enough quality to be a good brood mare, and that we should breed from her, because her racing had gone off, and unfortunately then she died at Te Parai, as a late 4-year-old.
She'd done so much for you both, as you said, the deposit for the farm. That must have just been gutting.
Well, it was.
And that family has been dominant right up to this day, hasn't it? That is the foundation of your breeding.
Yes, on that side, it definitely has been. Moora was the first Group 1 winner that I ever bred. We bred O'Malley's Boy, Hinny Moa, Lady Annalise, Titanium, Pinprick, Tullaroon, Primavera, Smoking Chimneys, Regatta and Hinarangi are all out of the same family, and there are numerous others too.
Tell me about the breeding operation at the moment. How many brood mares do you have? How many horses are there in total?
We don't count.
Denial.
Do you know?
We've got, what, 14 mares, have we?
12 brood mares this year. 4 3-year-olds that are quite well bred. None of them are raced yet, so they're due to start off shortly. So they're what we call pretty exciting. I have raced very few 2-year-olds, because I think I possibly ruined Hakawai by racing her as a 2-year-old. She had 6 or 7 starts. Our families need a bit of time, and
they're lucky to get it, really.
Just go to the paddock and find another one. We've got about 8 or 10 horses out there that are pretty close to racing on the moment.
We've spoken sort of about the history of how you got involved in the horses and some of the early success, but what about the most recent success?
In life, if you breed a Group 1 winner, you're so lucky. And if you own a Group 1 winner, you're even luckier. And so buying a horse, Roger James, I liked his style for many years, and he was at the sales in Sydney, and he phoned me up, and I'd asked him to look for a horse for me, and he said, I found a pretty well-bred horse by Flying Spur. Anyway, we paid about $360,000 for her, and she only won 1 race, but since she's been in the breeding barn, most of the time she's been mated to Savabeel, and her first Savabeel was a colt called Tullamore, which we raced, and because I'd given a half share to my children under Susanna's pressure, we actually sold him, and it was a sensible thing to do. Gay Waterhouse offered us good money for him, and we sold him, and he went on and won a Brisbane Cup and did well in Australia. The best one has been Shillelagh, but there's Irish Dream and Galway are 2 full sisters. The last one, which I sold because it was just before Shillelagh was really doing well, is a horse called French Success. We got very good money for her, and she's had 5 starts for 3 wins, so she's going to be quite a handy horse, I think. Just going back to Shillelagh, she has been an absolute wonderful for us, and in total she's won a couple of million Kiwi, and we felt, we're so lucky to have. You turn down offers because everybody wants them, and she was Japan wanted to buy her. She was lucky enough to go on holiday with Winks a couple of times, and holiday mates, and I think with Chris Waller's the Persuasion and Winks was talking to, they decided to go to I'm Invincible.
Very exciting. So she would be your favourite horse or your most significant one? Best horse. Yeah,
and you rank it as your favourite because it's you start getting objective in life as you get older, and she's been better than any of the other horses that I've bred over the years by miles. Yeah.
We've talked about your success on the racetrack, but you've both enjoyed some great success off the racetrack as well, including being awarded the Queen's Service Medal.
It was the services to racing, and then being involved in a small town. You have to be involved in everything, whether it's the rugby club, squash club,
It's a special,
you put
special, a
vehicles
special
on
place.
to help or whatever, and yes, I really don't know what I did, but somebody gave me a medal, and
It's very humble.
that's it. Yeah, really. But no, I mean, yeah, and all the parts that I've ever done racing, I've enjoyed it all, and you know, still enjoy everything we do with Hunterville.
There were some really amazing things that you did in the community at Hunterville. Can you tell me a little bit about those?
Everyone does wonderful
Oh,
things.
come on,
in this
tell
world.
us.
No, truly, they do.
Yes.
Small communities are magic. Everybody knows everyone, and everyone cares, and it's a very special way to live your life.
There were some projects at the school and the water, was it as well, that you were involved in?
Yeah, I mean, the water scheme is on our farm. Hunterville didn't have any good water, and you've done some homework.
Oh, I try. That's my job.
I mean, I can't remember those things.
No,
And,
it's all good. I mean,
it's been a very successful water scheme.
We talk about the horses, and it really is a hobby for you, isn't it? Tell me a little bit about the farming side of the Grace operation.
Well, I bought my first farm when Hakawai died. It was 500 odd acres, 550 acres next door to my father's farm. And then in 1973, my brother went to England as a professional polo player.
Wow.
And he came and saw me one afternoon and said, look, I'm out of here. I want to sell my farm. And so I bought it off him that afternoon. And then the following year my father died, so I ended up, even though I'm the third member in the family, purchasing that property. So that gave us a block of 2,200 acres, and then recently we've just bought another 1,600, so there's 4,000 acres in the block where we live.
And what do you run on there? Sheep and beef?
Sheep and cattle.
Yep.
Yeah. I think part of my life is always trying to cut out the middleman, and so we try and run a sheep to the cradle to the grave operation. We do have, because that part of it is the biggest part of my life today. There's Ovation and two others and myself own the freezing works in Wellington. Our stock agents, the 5 stock agents that are working for me, we provide all the stock. So when I wake up at the beginning of the year, I know by the end of the year I've got to find a bit over 1 million lambs and 60 or 70,000 cattle, which our boys do. And it's been a very competitive business, but it's been very successful for us.
What sort of led to the decision to come out to the beach here?
There you are, Susanna, away you go.
well, it's very obvious. You know, it's the only business in the world where you have to get out of your house for your children.
So your son has taken over the farm?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. They're living at Rathmoy now, yes.
Was that hard,
It's
or was
lovely.
that a welcome decision, do you think?
Oh, it was extremely hard.
Yeah.
Yes, it was. But it was the right decision. Yeah.
Susanna, I said to her, well, you go and find somewhere where you want to live. And for a couple of years, she spent driving up and down the road, turning left, coming home from Wellington or whatever. And she found a place here, a little house. And so she said, oh, I think I found somewhere that you might be happy with. So, yeah, then this is what she's created.
And he's still not sure.
And it's beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah, Max and I go back down a fair bit.
Do you? How much time would you spend at Rathmoy?
A couple of days a week.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about the kids. Do they follow racing with you?
I think they were mad keen about it. It's lovely for us now because our grandchildren are really keen about it.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, well, Susie Kate works for Waikato Stud, you know, over the yearling sales and the administration and organisation side of it.
She's really keen on the breeding.
Oh, great.
And they're all involved in the farming business with us, so it's pretty special, very special.
What's your favourite thing about living in Matamata?
Oh, it's pretty central to everything, and it's a great place to rear a very good horse.
Race you'd most like to win?
Any race, but probably the Cox Plate.
Sprinters or stayers?
Milers.
Social media of choice?
I'm talking to somebody face to face.
Dream dinner guests?
Oh, buddy. Or my family, the kids.
Favourite race course?
Race horse.
Race course?
Oh, course. Love Matamata, but probably favourite Flemington.
Favourite jockey?
Anyone that'll win a race for us.
Best racehorse you've seen in action?
O'Reilly.
Dogs or cats?
Dogs, definitely.
Netflix or a book?
No, I haven't got time for either of those.
Phone call or a text?
Probably text.
Big party, small gathering?
Small gathering.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you.
Cambridge friends Sam Beatson, Finbarr, Leahy and Ben Foote are familiar faces at Karaka, having had plenty of success purchasing yearlings to on-sell at the New Zealand Bloodstock Ready to Run sale. We caught up with them at Riversley Park to see how it all works. So I suppose the best place to start is how you all came to know each other. The little chuckle says it all. Someone start.
Probably not tell the true story there, I suppose.
Probably not.
Well, you guys started, you knew each other from riding over jumps.
Yeah, well, yeah, we've known each other for years since when I first came over, haven't we?
Well, yeah, we were riding over fences together. That was probably 20 years ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, 2000.
And then you became acquainted with Sam?
Yeah, I broke in a few horses for Ben years ago. He sent me the wild ones that he was scared of. And ended up buying a horse together from the Gold Coast. We were sort of only Kiwis there getting on the plane in the morning, weren't we? So we sort of went around looking at horses together and we picked one out.
Don't know if we really liked each other at the time, but ended up liking each other at the end of the sale, sort of.
Yeah.
And Finbarr, you might not have been on that first plane, but how did you sort of become involved as well?
Well, we all kind of into the same thing, Emily. You know, we're all buying and selling horses. That's basically what we do. You know, so it kind of made sense. We've all got on well together. We head to the sales together. We look around together. We all have our own individual ideas of what we want, but basically it kind of comes down to the athlete. You know, if we all like it, then it's a no-brainer, really.
It splits the cost a bit, doesn't it, from the vetting, the x-rays to when you're selling it. You've spread your risk. If something goes wrong, well, you haven't got all your money tied up in one horse.
Exactly, and then we can all do a little bit part each time. We'll break them all in, and then a few will come to me and Ben, and we can take over and do the next part, and Sam just finishes them off, puts the shining edges on them.
And how many do you like to purchase each year?
Depend, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it depends on,
you know.
on the market a lot, but I guess...
It was tough buying last year.
Yeah, last year was tough, but no, I suppose 20 odd.
Do you need outside clients, or is that pretty much what you're working with, is what you do together?
So half the draft would be outside clients. Yeah, we've always got people wanting to do them. Same thing, it works well between us doing them as well. You know, like these guys breeze a few of that for the outside clients as well. It's pretty hard to have all your own horses in work. You sort of need an income coming in at the same time.
What's it like mixing business and pleasure?
There's an argument here and there, but we seem to get over it.
Yeah, but we know what it's like. Things can go wrong, you know, so it's probably a little bit easier that you realise it over the years that not everything is going to work out exactly the way you want it, but
Yeah,
touch wood, we're up more than we're down.
We don't exchange any costs or anything, and we're quite laid back about that too, you know, so that's a key to it.
We have a couple of business meetings at the turf bar or the clubhouse once a week.
Something
Sort everything out.
Yeah, that does the job.
Yeah, we see each other down the track every morning as well, but usually it's well, you've got him, you look after him, so it's, you know, you kind of...
pretty much, when everyone's got them, we just trust each other, you know.
Yeah, you don't need to be putting your 2 cents worth in. You have enough to think about, you know. So.
Exactly.
And tell me about the process of purchasing and how you do it. Do you look together? Do you pick individuals that you like? How does it come about?
I guess we do our own. We mark our own horses, and at the end of the day, we probably go over it and decide what we like.
Well, you kind of have a list, don't you? We'll all have a list of
of
what we like, and then we cross over,
don't we? And
you know, sometimes you miss one, don't you? And you go back and go, oh, go and have a look at this thing, and you go, you know.
Usually we like the
just
same
love it.
horses, don't we?
Yeah, yeah.
What are the things that you like in the ones that you purchase? What are you looking for?
Well, conformation's probably for our market that we sell to Hong Kong a lot of the time. They've got a pretty good conformation, and you know, they've obviously got to have enough strength to make it to a 2-year-old breeze up. And yeah, like the pedigree does come into it, doesn't it? But like, you sort of, it's got to be an athlete, it's got to be a racehorse. We look at it, if we don't sell it, we're happy enough to keep it and race it. Yeah, we don't buy anything that we don't like just because it's by a sire that's quite fashionable. But when we're buying them, we sort of look at what we can sell them for, what we think they're going to be worth as a 2-year-old rather than what they're worth then. So a lot of the time your profit can be made in buying them, not actually selling them.
Okay.
So we try and look through, you know, what you think, what market it suits and what sort of money you think you could sell it for in sort of 10 months' time. That's generally how we try and work when we put a reserve on a horse, or how much we're going to buy the horse for, what we're going to go to, how much we're going to spend, and to be fair, we always normally go a couple of bids over.
Does anyone go rogue? Has anyone ever gone rogue and just...
Yeah, Sam.
Bought a couple by mistake.
What about successes? There's a few good stories I heard earlier that I need to hear again.
I guess a few years ago we had a horse, some street somewhere, we bred, and myself and Andrew Stewart, and I said to Sam, if he breaks it in, I'll give him a 3rd share in it. So he forgot to enter him in the ready to runs, so he ended up having to go to the trials with him, and he was quite impressive there. And we tried to sell him, couldn't sell him, and then we ended up sending him to Stephen Marsh, didn't we? And yeah, it went from there. We ended up getting really good money after we won the Group 2.
What was the initial phone call like when you found out that he wasn't in the sales? Were you disappointed?
Oh, I think it might have been a few days later after a few beers. He might have copped a bit of abuse, but
Yeah, I always said he'd make a better trial horse.
he did too. He did too, actually.
And the rest is history, as they say.
Yeah, for sure.
What about for you, Finbarr? Is there a success story that sticks out?
I suppose the Tavistocks, the first year, they probably weren't as popular. I brought one to the ready to runs as a 2-year-old, and nobody really wanted them, but I actually really loved them. So I went back that following Caracas sale, and I found one for, I think it was 21,000. I knew he was on the market at 20, so I was waiting for him to get to 20, and I got him for 21, and so I ended up selling for 280. So it was quite a good little turnover. But yeah, he won a trial at Titico, and he was just a lovely looking horse. I think he's gone on and won 8 in Aussie now or something like that. So he's turned out to be all right.
What about a horse that you've got together going to this year's ready to run sale that you're most excited about?
A couple we have, I suppose, would be the Vancouver and Perencanto, wouldn't they? They'd be quite nice. And
yeah, that'd be real nice athletic horses that you know seem to have a good way of going, don't they?
Touch wood.
And we've got a Savabeel, haven't we? A half to Sacred Falls with Ben and a Pero that are the same sort of thing, real nice athletic horses, and they've done everything with ease so far. So
yeah,
they should be pretty exciting horses going forward.
Yeah.
What are you hoping to achieve in the future? Is there any goals you've set yourselves?
I guess for the last sort of number of years, sort of been concentrating on sort of just trying to get, you know, a bit more financial, and now I guess we're probably all getting to that stage where we're a little bit more comfortable. I don't know, I guess for myself, I'm taking a bit more of a punt and not just trying to sell him for whatever I can. If I really like the horse, I'll you know, try and go the next step with it.
Yeah, trust your judgment.
Yeah.
What about for you, Finbarr?
You know, you get the nice horses, and like Ben says, if you have one and you know you really like it, then it's being prepared to go that next step. Whereas before, we really did have to sell them.
Okay.
You know, when they went to the ready runs or the trials. You know, so.
And for you, Sam, what does the future look like for Riversley Park?
Oh, pretty similar, really. Just keep trying to buy quality horses and keep pinhooking and breaking in horses. Sort of stick to what we've been doing, seems to be working, so I don't think we need to change too much. Just keep on keeping on what's been happening over the last few years.
Sometimes we'll get warnings on how the horses are, whether they're colty or whether they're easygoing, or you know. So we just have to have our wits about us on the ones that we don't have any information on. Basically when they come, the truck will come or the float will come, the door will come down and we just can read the horse when it comes off the truck or float. Those horses that arrive on the day obviously is just trying to get them calm before the anaesthetic vet comes in and does her checks.
So this is a patient that initially presented to the trainer as a 2-year-old in training, and the horse had shown some ability, but they'd noticed a loss of performance as it was galloping. The horse was endoscoped at rest. There were signs that the horse had a weak palate function, and the advice at that stage was to give the horse time to mature. A lot of horses as present as 2-year-olds, and especially fillies, will grow out of this problem. If you get a horse into a 3-year-old prep and it's still showing signs of a significant problem and it's not improved with tack changes, then we look for a surgical solution. Unfortunately, with a young racehorse, time is not on our side, so we're forced to sort of try something to improve the horse's performance before their career is effectively extinguished.
When the horse arrives, it gets pre-medicated and treated, preferably at least half an hour before we sedate and induce them further. So it gets certain drugs, get a little bit of sedation and analgesia when it's checked with its antibiotics and pre-meds.
We then take them round to the knockdown box and pick out their feet and wash out their mouth so that they don't get any obstructions in the airway when we place the ET tube. So we'll position them against the wall, and then we just basically have to calm them down, make them, say it's not as scary as it seems to be in this big room. Once they're nice and settled, we bring the door around to squeeze them up against the wall.
That's when I will, what we call, induce it with ketamine and diazepam. And once that injection is in, it takes probably up to a minute for the horse to actually go down.
The person at the head is making sure that the head's stable, keeping it nice and steady and pushing them gently backwards as they go down. And then once they've gone down, then we can open up the door and let them lie down. The heavy horses, we can get some that weigh up to 650 kgs. But in the old days it was really physically demanding. We had to do it manually with people. We had no doors or anything like that, so it's a lot better now.
Once it's on the ground, I like to know that it's alive, that it's breathing, it's still got some blink reflex. I put an endotracheal tube down the trachea, and that gives us an airway that we can then give them the volatile gases and anaesthetise them.
The syndrome is sort of well recognised in young performance horses, and especially race horses, including the standard breds. We're not sure why in some horses are represented more than others, and there's not any particularly familial line that are overrepresented with this problem. We sort of have runs of them, and certain times of the year they seem to come around. So over a period of a year we might do sort of 6 to 10 of these procedures. So it's not something we're doing every day, but it's a procedure that we do enough of that we confident in doing them and getting good results. It's technically a challenging surgery, and the key thing with any surgery is being quick and efficient and getting the horse on and off the table as quick as you can, because that translates to a good recovery, but also less surgical time. There's less risk of infection and complications immediately after surgery as well.
Next week on Kiwi Bred, we review the New Zealand Bloodstock Ready to Run sale and catch up with Sam Williams at Little Avondale Stud in Masterton.